Welcome to the Medium in the Middle podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie, the Medium in the Middle. This podcast is going to walk you through my journey into mediumship and how I came to realize that I could communicate with souls that have passed over. My adventure started just over a year ago when unusual situations started happening to me. It wasn't until I really started to pay attention to them that it all started to come together. I wrote down everything that I was experiencing this past year in a little black book, and this podcast is going to be a recap of all of those memories leading up to where I am today in my mediumship journey. I will be releasing new episodes every Tuesday, and I recommend listening to the podcast in order, starting with episode 1, as my story will unfold more week by week. If you would like to stay connected with me, follow me on Instagram at mediuminthemiddle. Hello everyone, welcome to episode 23. Thank you for tuning in. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Stephanie, I am the medium in the middle. If you are a regular, welcome back. Thank you for listening, I really appreciate it. I have some exciting news this week. I was a guest on my first podcast. I was interviewed by the Intuitive Woman podcast. And the episode will be releasing today, the same day that this episode is being released. So if you would like to tune in, I will leave the episode link below in the description. You can click it and go to the Intuitive Woman's podcast, and you will hear an amazing conversation that Tina and I had about mediumship, about energy, about a little bit about my past. So it's really cool, and I'm excited that it was my first guest appearance on someone else's podcast. I'm looking forward to doing more of that in 2020, and I'm also going to be having guests on my show as well, so stay tuned for that. So if you tuned into the last 2 episodes, I talked about what happened when I went to my cousin's wedding in Ontario, and I mentioned in that episode that a month later, I came back for a week visit. So for the wedding, I only went back to Ontario for 2 days, and then a month later, I went back to Ontario for 1 week. So now I have a stream of episodes that are going to be coming out for the next few weeks that is going to cover everything that happened to me when I went home for that week. It was a crazy week. So much happened. I did my Reiki Masters that week. I was visiting everyone and anyone. So there was a lot of experiences that happened. So I have a lot of juicy, really exciting stories to share with you guys over the next couple weeks. And I'm really excited to have you hear them. So the story that I'm going to tell today involves my very good friend Tara. Tara and her family have probably received the most messages from me, and I'm not sure why. I'm not sure if it's just because I'm with them a lot. I'm not sure if it was because I was kind of tuned into their family, so it was easier for me. But she has been the star of many episodes. In episode 4, Who is the Man in the Washroom? That was one of my first experiences when I channeled Tara's grandfather. And then in episode 9, Josh, that was when I channeled Tara's stepfather's son. And then in episode 13, I talked about when I cleared Tara's house and what happened. And I have probably 2 more episodes of what has happened when I'm with her family. Hint, hint. It's more to do with episode 4. So today's episode is going to be another one with Tara and her family. So for this trip back to Ontario, I was staying with Tara because where she lived was closer to where I was doing my Reiki Masters course. So it was easier for me to go and do the course and stay with her. And it was also a really good excuse for me to have a few days with her and her family because she is one of my very good friends, and her family and I have become close after all of these experiences have happened between us. So since I've last been to Tara's house, she moved. So she was in a new house this time. So right when I walked in the door, her and her mom asked me if there's anyone in the new house, and they just wanted me to kind of check it out because I had cleared the last house, and in the last house I had channeled a few of their family members for them. So as I was walking around the new house checking it out, I kind of said, no one's here, like the space is empty. It was a newer house, so it wasn't holding old energy, And they did ask me a few times, but I just kind of said, no, this space is empty. You're good. So it was the next day, and I was coming home from my Reiki Master's course, and Tara and her friend were sitting in the living room. So for the sake of this episode, we are going to call her friend Teresa. So I come home from a big day out, and Tara and Teresa are sitting on the couch just chatting. So I grab some leftovers and I sit on the couch, and I am stuffing my face because I'm really hungry and it's late, and we're all just kind of chatting. And as I'm taking a big bite of this sandwich that I have in my hand, I do this thing with my eyes where literally the sandwich is in my hand, halfway in my mouth, and I look at Tara, and I look at Teresa, and I look at Tara, and I look at Teresa. And Tara knows me by now, so she's like, oh my God, who is here? What's happening? And I just slowly chew my really big bite that I just took of my sandwich, and I smile and I say, there's someone here. And then Tara's going, what do you mean there's someone here? You told me yesterday there's nobody here. Me and my mom asked you yesterday if there was anybody here, and you said no. There's someone here now? Who's here? And I said, there's 2 people here, and I think it's for Teresa because these 2 people weren't here before, and they're kind of sitting over there near her. And then Teresa starts to freak out, and she is saying, no, I don't want to know. And she runs from her couch to Tara's couch and literally hides behind Tara. It was hilarious. I was laughing. And she was like, I don't want to know. And Tara's yelling, I want to know. Who is it? So because I thought these 2 souls were for Teresa, and she was saying that she didn't want to know the message, she was spooked about it, she was a little freaked out, she wasn't sure if she believed or didn't believe. So I just said, okay, like that's totally fine that you don't want to know, but I'm not going to sit here in the living room because they're going to keep bothering me. I'm just going to go sit in the kitchen, finish eating, and then probably they'll leave me alone and I'll come back and sit with you guys. So they said, okay, like that's fine. So I go into the kitchen and I'm just sitting there eating my food, trying to ignore these 2 spirits that have a message for what I think is Teresa. So from the kitchen, I hear Teresa yelling that she doesn't want to know, but Tara is yelling that she wants to know. So then I start yelling back and I said, well, you 2 have to decide because, Tara wants to know who they are. And then we went like this back and forth a little bit. So I said, okay, I'll tell you who they are and you can figure out if you want to talk to them or not. So I said, which side of your grandparents are they both passed away, your mom or your dad, like where grandma and grandpa are both passed away? And then Teresa thinks for a moment and she says, oh, it's not me. Both my grandparents, I don't have a set of grandparents that are both passed away. It's not for me. And then I hear Tara say, oh, I have a set of grandparents that are both passed away. So then I walk back into the living room where they're both seated. And I look at Tara because I know her and I should know her family tree by now. And I kind of said, you do? You have a grandma and a grandpa from like the same side, mom's side or dad's side that are both passed away? She said, yeah, I do, dad's side. And I was like, oh, okay, well then they are here. She's like, well, why weren't they here yesterday? And I was like, well, I don't know. Maybe it was because I just arrived and we were unpacking and I don't know, but they're here now, and they're with a little white small dog, like a white gray dog that's really fluffy. And she was like, oh, they have our doggo. So they lost a puppy last year, and it was really sad because Tara and her family are very close with their dogs. And I had forgotten that she had lost this puppy. So when I was like, yeah, and the grandma has a puppy with her, she's like, that's my dog. And I was like, oh, right, I knew that. So then I asked Tara if she wants to hear what they have to say, and she was used to this by now. So she's like, of course I want to know what they have to say. Of course I want to know. So I said, okay. I was like, I look off to the right-hand side and I say, grandma's like sitting in the chair and grandpa's standing beside her. And it looks like his pants are hiked so far up, they're like past his belly button. Like his pants could also be a bra. Like his pants are so high up. He's wearing like these pants, but they're just hiked so high up. And she starts laughing and she's like, yeah, grandpa used to always wear his pants literally so high. Like they'd be past his belly button with his little belt and he'd tuck his shirt in. And I was like, yeah, that's what he looks like. And I said, your grandma wants to know who was making the dish that she always made at Thanksgiving. And I'm like, and she's laughing about it. It's like something funny to her. So I was asking Tara about it, and she's like, I don't know what she used to make. Is it lasagna? Is it this? Is it that? And I was like, well, I don't know. Like, she's laughing about it. Like, she's like, who's making like the dish that I always make at Thanksgiving? Because we were just a few days away from Thanksgiving at the time. And Tara couldn't think of it. So then I just moved on, and I was like, okay, like she was like, maybe it's pie, maybe it's lasagna. And I was like, no, that doesn't seem right, but I'll just move on. So then I said, Grandpa wants to know what happened with his big boat car. Like, I feel like there was like this big car. It was like a brown orange color. And what happened to it after he died? Like, he really wants to know what happened to the car. And again, Tara like really wasn't too sure. She's like, I don't know. She's like, I don't remember the car. I don't remember it being a big deal. And I was like, okay, like I'll just move on. And then I said, did Grandma die first and then Grandpa? And she said yes. And I was like, okay, well, they both want to talk about a little girl, like the newest grandchild. Who would be the newest grandchild? And then we started talking about how one of the brothers had just had a baby, and we just kind of talked about how, okay, Grandma and Grandpa know about the baby, and they know that, she had been born because she was the newest grandchild. So then Grandma wanted to talk about a piece of jewelry that Tara had, and she said, I feel like you have one piece and someone else has the other piece. So if like I had the necklace, someone else has the bracelet, and she wants to know where the other piece was. And Tara, again, couldn't think of it. She's like, maybe my mom has it. Like, I don't know. But she's like, I don't think I have anything of my grandma's where someone would have the other piece. And she showed me a bracelet, and she said, I have this bracelet from her, but I'm not sure if there's a matching necklace, or I'm not sure if there's a matching earring or something that's meant to go with it. And I was like, okay, like Grandma is really referencing like the other piece of this set, and that someone else has it. So she just kind of wants to acknowledge that you have one piece and someone else has the other piece. So maybe when everything was being divided, like one person got one piece and you got the other, I'm not sure, but she wants to acknowledge that you have one piece and someone else has the other piece. So then I start doing what I always do when spirit leaves. I start to burp. Tara knows that when I start to burp, it means the spirit is leaving. So I kind of say, all right, that's it. That's all I have to say. And she's like, oh my God, I have to tell Mom. And we have to call her and tell her because I want to know, like, there's so many things that she couldn't put together. So we said, okay, like, let's call your mom and let's ask her about those things that we couldn't figure out. So right away, we call her mom and we have her on the phone, on speakerphone, and we're trying to remember everything that Grandma and Grandpa had just said. So we kind of said, what was the dish that Grandma used to always make at Thanksgiving? And she was like laughing about it. And Tara was like, was it her lasagna? Like, was it that pie she used to make? She's like, I don't remember. And then Tara's mom starts laughing and she's like, oh gosh, yeah, Grandma used to make this dessert. It was called Sex in a Pan. And she thought it was the funniest thing ever because it had the word sex in it. And Grandma was the kind of person who wouldn't say any kind of swear word. She wouldn't say anything inappropriate. So the fact that this dessert was called Sex in a Pan just made her laugh and laugh and laugh. So she said, no one's making it for Thanksgiving this year, but she did used to always make it every year, and she thought it was this hilarious joke. So then we asked Tara's mom about the car and why Grandpa would be asking about the car. And she said, oh, Grandpa loved that car. She said, he would want to know what happened to it. He would be asking about the car. She said he loved that car. He kept it clean. He cared for the car. He was like really into cars. And I guess the car that he had was a car that he really admired. And then we told Tara's mom that they know about the grandchildren and they wanted to acknowledge the newest baby girl that was just born. And she was really happy to hear these messages. And she was really wishing that she was there in the house when this had all happened. And she asked why they weren't there yesterday when they were asking about who was in the house. And I tried to explain that I'm not sure why they chose to come through now. Maybe it was because I was doing my Reiki Masters course all day, that my channels are more open, or maybe I'm just sitting on the couch doing nothing, where the day before we were kind of here and there and unpacking and doing everything all at once. So it was really nice that we got to give that message to her. So in the next episode, I'm going to fully cover what happened in my Reiki Masters course. So I did take my Reiki Masters course with a master in Banff, but I wanted to go do my master's course again with Lois, my master from Ontario, and I will make that its own episode. It might have to be 2 episodes because a lot happened during my training, and it was a really, really incredible experience, and it really drove home that I knew I needed to go home to do my master's course with Lois. This was the first day of my course when I came home and talked to Tara's grandparents. So the second day was the second day of my course, and after that day, we were going to be going to Tara's cottage. So it was in the evening, and literally all of a sudden, Tara got so ill. Her face was white, she was sweating, she lost all her color, and she was just saying to me, I feel sick, like something is very wrong. So she was in bed trying to fall asleep, and I could just hear how uncomfortable she was. She was moaning and groaning and shaking from this illness, whatever it was. So I knew that we had a big weekend ahead of us. We were doing Thanksgiving with her family. We were going to the cottage, and she just absolutely could not be sick. If she was sick for this weekend, it would be a really, really big disappointment for her, and I know that she loves Thanksgiving weekend. So I said, Tara, I'm going to Reiki you before you go to bed so that you can have a good sleep. And she agreed. So I said, you just lay in bed, and I'm going to do some work because I don't want this sickness to carry over into the weekend. I want you to get rid of it tonight. So when it's something physical like that, I like to work on people's feet and their spine. So because she was laying on her side, it was really easy for me to access her spine and her feet. And I was giving her Reiki and pulling the energy, moving the energy around, trying to get it moving so that I could get it out of her body. And as I was doing this, I could feel how sick she was, and I could feel how bad it was going to become. But I didn't want to tell her that because I wanted her to just try to sleep and get through it. So my intention as I was working was that it all hit tonight. I wanted the entire sickness to hit her tonight, and I wanted her to push through it so that by tomorrow she was fine. And in my mind, I was just thinking, this is going to be a really awful night for her because I'm going to try to push this all into tonight and kind of bring it all to the surface so that it all comes out. But I think it's going to be worth it because then she's not going to be sick all weekend. She'll just be really sick tonight and it'll get it out of her system. And then in the morning, she'll be fine. So as I was Reiking her, that was my intention, to move this sickness energy out of her body, to kind of hit her hard tonight. I knew it was going to be bad. And then in the morning, she'd be okay. So I did this, I worked on her, and then when I felt like enough was enough, I stopped. And I kind of went to bed feeling a little bad, knowing what she was going to be going through that evening, but I knew that it was best case scenario so that she wasn't sick all weekend and have to miss Thanksgiving. So where I was staying, me and Tara were sharing a room. There was 2 beds in it, and all night she was tossing and turning, and you could hear her crying almost in her sleep. It was really sad, and I kept waking up and saying, Tara, are you okay? But she was out for the count. She couldn't hear me. I asked her the next day. She said, I didn't even hear you talking to me. She was just really, you could tell her body was moving through something. And the next morning, I just really quietly tried to sneak out and go to my course so that she was able to sleep. So I wasn't able to talk to her all day until I saw her later that evening. And as soon as I got to see her, I just said, hey, like, how are you feeling? How are you doing? Knowing in the back of my head that it was bad. And she said, oh my gosh, I got so sick last night. Like, I was having night terrors and night sweats and literally whimpering in my sleep. She's like, but then when I woke up, like, I just felt better. And I was like, oh, okay, good. And I was like, I'm sorry, but I kind of did that to you. And she was like, what? And I was like, yeah, like when I was Reikiing you last night, I was trying to pull up all the sickness so that you experienced it last night so that you weren't sick all weekend. I was like, so I'm sorry, but I kind of did that. And I just wanted to make sure that you felt better now and that it actually worked out the way that I was trying to have it work out, because I just really didn't want you to be sick for 3 days. I'd rather you kind of get hit hard for 12 hours. So she was like, "Oh, wow, like, I didn't know that you could do that." And I was like, "Neither did I. I was just kind of trying it out. But I guess if you set an intention and move the energy around, it works." And I do believe this because even when I'm doing sessions, I am careful with how much energy I move. So, for example, if you come in and you have a shoulder injury, and then we're talking about maybe a fight that you're having with your sister, and then maybe we talk about how you're not talking to your mom, and then maybe I find some energy from an old injury in your leg. I really need to be careful about how much I move in one day, because you are then going to have the repercussions of me moving that energy for the next few days. So Reiki is all about bringing energy to the forefront, and I move it, but ultimately the client has to deal with it. So I always pick what your body tells me is the most important thing, and I don't try to do too much. So sometimes I say that's enough for today, or I didn't want to do too much today, because especially on someone's first visit, if you move around too much energy all at the same time, you're just going to leave them with so much to deal with. It's going to be overwhelming. Especially when I'm working with clients, I need to kind of pick the top 2 things I really want to move. Even if we acknowledge the other energies that are there, I might kind of see them, but not really try to move them, because either it's not their time yet, or it's just too much in one day, or maybe that one thing needs a full hour session, or whatever the case may be. But in this one case is the only time where I've moved energy where I knew it was going to be a lot for the client, well, my friend, but I knew that in this case it was worth it so that she dealt with it all at once. But for a regular client, I normally wouldn't move that much energy, because I know kind of the repercussions. This is also a reason why I say, like, after your appointments with me or with any Reiki practitioner, you should kind of chill for a little bit, especially for the first hour. Like, I wouldn't have an appointment and then go meet a friend for lunch or dinner or go out on the town or something like that. You kind of want to be home, you want to chill. I always give my clients a little bit of homework to do, so you kind of want to just really let the energy do the work, because once my hands are off of you, Reiki is life force energy, so it's still working, it's still moving, and now you're dealing with it. So you're going to have a really good sleep, you're going to be really thirsty, you're probably going to be reflecting on what we talked about. And it's just a really good idea to chill afterwards, just to let your body kind of digest. And over the next few days, you'll continue to digest, but that first few hours after your appointment is the really big, like, bam, like, there it is in your face. Especially if it's your first time, people kind of have that whoa eyes. So I always recommend to make your appointment and then have a few hours free afterwards. Like, I wouldn't come for an appointment at 12 when you work at 1:30 or 2. You maybe have the night off, or maybe you don't work till 6, just so that you can digest, because we are in a world where we want everything quick and fast, and right now, but for energy, you need to let it process on your own time, and trust me, it's probably going to be much slower than you would like it. So that is what happened when I stayed at my friend's Tara's house in October 2019. I'm releasing this in February 2020, just to give you an idea of the timeline if you are following the story from the beginning. If you're not following the story from the beginning, the timeline really doesn't matter, but I am just trying to tell all of the stories in order from when they happened, starting from about July 2018 was when this whole experience happened, and this podcast is recapping all of the stories. So we are kind of catching up, almost. We're getting there. So like I said, next episode, I'm going to be talking about my Reiki Masters course. This is going to be a super cool and interesting story if you are interested in what is a Reiki Master, what is Reiki, how do you train to do Reiki, what happens in these courses. Especially mine was a little bit unique because I am a medium, and a lot of mediumship comes up when I do Reiki. Kind of when I'm on to all channels. thank you for listening. Thank you for making it this far. If you are an iTunes user, I would love a rating and review on the podcast. It really helps me out in the podcast world, helps people find my podcast. You can also share it with a friend. If you want to stay connected with me even more, you can also follow me on Instagram at Medium in the Middle. Well, I will see you all next week. Tune in to the Intuitive Woman's podcast if you want a little bit more this week. You can hear me being interviewed, and I will leave that link in the description box of this episode so you can just click on it. All right, everyone, have a great week. It is Stephanie signing off for the day. Bye, guys.